Hey guys, 31 Days of Horror. This is day number 4. And so I'm going to be I'm kind of checking out my Vikings who are tied with the Broncos 2020 with 2 minutes left. So that looks interesting. Broncos are driving though. But Minnesota always puts up a good show, but they never really win the big one, do they? Anyway, I'm always interested, but it's tough to be a Minnesota Vikings fan. At least the Packers won. They won like 17-3 or something. So at least that was something. Okay, onward to the matter at hand. I've been concentrating on some Stephen King stuff, mainly because I just picked some things I hadn't seen before or in a long time, like The Storm of the Century. Of course, Christine I've seen many times, but I just picked that up and did that on day 3. So I'm going to stick with another Stephen King. Believe me, I'll run out of them at some point. I'll be doing some other things, but I just happened to watch this today, and I wanted to talk about it. So this time up for day 4 in the 31 Days of Horror, I'm going to be focusing in and reviewing Stephen King's Riding the Bullet. Okay, so Riding the Bullet, this has got an interesting pedigree, I suppose. If I'm right, and I think I'm right, I'm not always right, but I think I'm right on this one. I believe this was an online book. I believe this was published online, Riding the Bullet. It's a novelette. And I'm fairly sure I'm right that Mick Garris is the same guy that directed The Stand, the miniseries The Stand, which I really liked. I don't know if that fits in the horror genre or in the category of horror, but that'd be a good one to review sometime. They had mixed reviews. This one had very mixed reviews, despite a widespread. I think this thing was online as a book, and pretty cheap as I remember. But despite the widespread selling of that, this didn't get a lot of push from the studio, and so it kind of was a bomb in the theater. Riding the Bullet. This was a theatrical release. It's about a 96-minute film, and it, like I say, it wasn't well received. Let me talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and overall, my thoughts, maybe my score on it. First of all, it focuses in on a young man who is obsessed with death, like a lot of 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 15-year-olds, whatever. They're obsessed with death, images of the Grim Reaper, the darker elements of things. He's in an art class in, I guess, college, it looks like, and there's a nude woman that everybody else is drawing, and he's got her with death looming over her. Nice artist. He did a nice job with it. But it's not the point. As his art teacher points out to him, why you got to see death and everything? I know you're obsessed with it, but come on, look at the life that's here. Look at the beauty that's here. And he says, I am. I see. He sees the beauty in the death as much as he sees it in life, or in the gruesome, or the grim, or the scary, or whatever, however you want to put it. But he focuses in on death and dying and things like that. He thinks his girlfriend has dumped him. And as he's sitting home alone in his apartment, thinking about his birthday, I guess it's his birthday, he takes a razor blade out of a razor, and holds it up against his wrist in the tub, and then the door opens and in walks Death, the Grim Reaper, somebody who encourages him to do so. Just about the minute he's starting to slice his wrist, the bathroom door opens, in comes his girlfriend and some of his friends, taking pictures and wishing him a happy birthday, at which point he faints into the tub, and then he wakes up again, now in a hospital bed. So he tries to kill himself. That's kind of the beginning of the story. But a lot of the story focuses in on him and his mother, played by Barbara Hershey, almost entirely in flashbacks to when he was a child, and he, in his mind, relives some experiences he had with death. Most notably, his father dying. He remembers that. He remembers going to the cemetery as a fairly young boy. Then it was just him and his mom. His mom was left to raise him. He had some scary moments with her where he felt like she was perhaps dead, but it was more passed out from alcohol. Well, it was passed out from alcohol. So he's in touch with death in his mind. He one of the big deals in his past history, in his childhood, was when he was in line to ride the Bullet, which is an amusement park ride, a roller coaster. And his mother waited in line with him in the cold until they were at the very front of the line. And as he looks up at this roller coaster and imagines himself on it with his mother, he sees in the car behind him Death, the Grim Reaper. And the Grim Reaper then grabs him and throws him from, his name's Alan or Adam, throws him from the roller coaster, and he falls to his death. And so, needless to say, he's reluctant to get on the roller coaster now. And he says, "Mom, let's leave the line. Come on, I don't want to go on it now. Let's go." And she's upset with him. In fact, so upset, she hits him a couple times. And it's really the only time we see him not happy with her, and her not happy with him. And it was a moment for him. It was a moment where he disappointed her, where perhaps she was disappointed in him as well, and maybe he and her. And it was a moment where he couldn't face his fear, and he let the fear of death overcome him. So that's a big moment. The Vikings lost 23-20 to Denver. Man, what a ripoff. They were driving in a fumble. I had to stop the video and go see what was going on. Anyway, no more distractions now. So the boy is obsessed with death. His girlfriend now, he thought she was breaking up with him, but now he realizes that she was, she should realize that she was sort of stringing him along so she could surprise him on his birthday. But that doesn't seem to go well. And like she says to him, you have a wall up. It's like nobody can get inside, like you're afraid or something. And he, so apparently they break up. She had given him for his birthday 2 tickets to see John Lennon. This takes place in 1969, by the way, this movie. To see John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band in Toronto. And he and his friends are hoping for a Beatles reunion. They had been broken up for a while. And so there's perhaps it's a big deal. Perhaps it's a Beatles reunion. Perhaps they'll all show up. What if they do? Wouldn't it be great? He kicks into, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and here come all the other Beatles. And so kind of an exciting moment for 1969. There's protests going on the campus and everything. He's excited to take one of them since he broke up with his girlfriend, but then he gets a call from a neighbor from his hometown telling him that his mother has had a stroke, and when can he come home? And he immediately says, "I'll be right home." So they take off. He doesn't own a car, by the way. They take off, his 2 friends, to see John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band in Toronto. And he now is left to hitchhike, thumb out at the side of the road. And here's where it gets, well, it was always weird, but here's where it gets weirder. It seems like everybody that picks him up has got a problem. And he's got this other self. It's him, but it's in like the back seat. It's like his conscience talking to him. And he says, "Yeah, something's wrong with this guy. You don't want to ride with this guy. Get out of the car. This guy, something's wrong with this dude." The first guy is wearing a wig, and he gets freaked out by that. He's trying to appear younger and appear one of the, like a college type person, but he's clearly not that. And so he crashes his car or his truck, and Alan or Adam, I think it is, gets out of the car, frustrated, and continues on. He as he's walking, he sees he comes across people who are alive and people who are dead. he comes across his father. He had flashed back to a scene with his mom when he was asking her, how did my father die? Well, whatever happened with him. And she tells him that it was an auto accident, that he was driving home alone and so on. Well, his father says, your mother lied to you. That's not what happened. And before he can hear more, a truck goes by and dissolves the image of his father that's there. And he goes on his journey, gets a ride with another odd person, played by Cliff Robertson, who you may recognize from other movies. He's an older man. And again, his conscience in the back seat is saying, this guy's weird. He smells like pee. Get away from him. He's dying. You don't want to be with him. And the guy offers to take him right to the hospital when he finds out where he's going. I'll take you right to the hospital. I was going to go visit my brother, but I'll take you. And eventually he says, no, I'm going to get out. And he lets him out. He then ends up, and it's almost like the Ghosts of Christmas or something. I mean, it followed that these guys that he's meeting up with, each caused him to look at life a little differently and death a little differently, and as he's going along, but not as clear as it might have been. It was kind of sort of convoluted, I think. I think they missed an opportunity here to be a little clearer with this. Finally, he gets a ride with David Arquette, who plays just another guy giving him a ride, and it's in a Plymouth Fury, Shades of Christine. This is a 1968 Fury, I think. And I think the one in, I don't know what the one in 65, 66, I don't know what the Fury was in Christine. I think this is a 68 Fury, or thereabouts. Gets a ride with this guy, and it's clear this guy is pretty freaky. And his conscience is saying, no, this guy's really weird. Get out of the car. The conscience didn't like any of these people. And with good reason. They probably all, or most, were probably dead or were certainly something wrong with them. This guy, there is something wrong with. And it quickly becomes apparent that the guy he offers him a choice. Either you can die or your mother can die. Take your choice. I'm here for one of you. He gets out of the car and makes a run for it. He ends up, ironically, back at the same amusement park where the bullet is. In fact, he slips through the gate and the lights go on at the amusement park. He ends up, in an effort to hide from the guy who's gotten out of his car, the Fury now is chasing him. In an effort to hide, he climbs up some things and he ends up hopping in what is the car to the bullet. And the lights go on, the music goes on for the ride, and the top bar comes down over him, and sure enough, he heads off on the ride. A significant moment, no doubt. In fact, the Arquette character has said to him when he was in the car, did you ride the bullet? And he said, oh yeah, many times. He said, no, you didn't. You chickened out. You didn't go on it. And your mom hit you. And he said, yeah, that's right. And then he reveals, you know what, your father didn't die the way your mother said. He said, what are those marks on your wrist? You tried to kill yourself, didn't you? He said, why don't you just come with me now? Life doesn't mean anything to you. And oh, by the way, do you know how your father really died? I'll tell you. And if he's to be believed, his father put a rifle in his mouth and pulled the trigger and blew his brains out. So all this is going through his head as he's riding the bullet. And eventually he gets off of it and makes his way to the hospital where his mother is maybe dying. He gets to the nurse's desk and so on. He finally gets in to see his mother, and she's not dead. And he and spoilers from here. The whole thing's kind of spoiler filled, but here's the spoiler for the whole thing. So if you don't want to hear the ending of it, then you can stop. But she ends up coming out of the hospital. And he says, you know, I tried to get her to stop smoking, and for a while she did. But then she went back to it. He said, but I came home every week or every third week for the next 2 years. And we had some great times. We watched television together. You know, we had fun. And he was able to rekindle that relationship with his mother that maybe was a little bit disjointed since he had gone away to college, and so it had appeared. And he's drawing at the kitchen table. She's watching a television show, and all of a sudden he realizes that she's died. And then we cut to an older version of our main character, in his 40s probably, who's been watching a lot of these scenes on a home movies, the old reels. And he says, my mom died. Sometimes I think back and I think maybe that last guy that gave me a ride, maybe he did take her, but I just had 2 more years with her. And he said, the Beatles never did get together again. John Lennon died in 1980 of an assassin's bullet. And George Harrison was taken by cancer sometime after that. I never did become an artist, though it's still my passion. But I never made a living doing it. And it kind of ends there. Oh, he does mention that he married his girlfriend. They got back together after his mother died. But it just didn't work out. So he's apparently by himself again. But seemingly happy, seemingly able to look back on his childhood and his life and sees the importance of his life. That riding the bullet finally was what freed him to experience love, experience life, not be afraid of death, not be preoccupied with death. And so his drawings are now happy and cheery and not death-filled, as he's a 40-year-old. And that's how it ends. I liked it. I liked the ending in particular. I don't always like a lot of Stephen King's endings, but I like this one. It was a little sappy, no doubt. It didn't really tie things together as well as I would have liked, but it was an entertaining movie. I'd give it a 6 or a 7. I enjoyed it. I'd watch it again. I'd give it a 6 or a 7 anyway. And, if I watch it again, I may like it more. I may like it less. I don't know. It's one of those movies that it was hard to follow it. Not follow it. It was hard to tie it all together through the first watch. I mean, clearly it was about life and death and his family and his own ability to come to terms with it. And I got that. But I didn't think it was tied in as well as it could have been. I didn't think really it was connected as well as it could have been. And so it left me wanting more. Visually, it was very nice. And I think the DVD was done well. 16:9 widescreen. 5.1 Dolby Digital. There is a director, cast, and crew commentary on this disc. And there are a few different little featurettes about the artwork and the makeup and so on and so forth. Nothing extravagant. I haven't listened to the commentary. I'd be curious to hear that. I don't know that I'd agree that it's the best of the independent films, although I don't know which other independent films there are. That's the key. Made from my works and Stand By Me, according to Stephen King. I liked it. I think I haven't read the book. I think the book would probably shed some light on some of this and make it clearer. Stephen King does a pretty good job of developing characters. The characters in here, though, were pretty well developed. So I liked it. Didn't love it. Somewhere around that 6-7 range. That's not a bad score for a movie, I guess. Stephen King's Riding the Bullet. Day 4 of the 31 Days of Horror.